The azure waters sparkle beneath the blazing sun as a helicopter soars over a breathtaking private island, its pristine beaches and marble mansion gleaming like something straight out of a billionaire's dream. But what happened next shocked everyone, because the young boy about to step foot on this paradise had just 24 hours earlier been sharing his last peanut butter sandwich with a stranger in a school cafeteria. Tyrone Johnson clutches his worn backpack tighter as he hurries down Peachtree Street in Atlanta, the morning sun casting long shadows between the modest apartment buildings. At 14, his shoulders already carry the weight of responsibility that most adults would struggle with. His mother works double shifts at the diner, and every dollar counts in the Johnson household. "Baby, don't forget your lunch," his mother calls from the kitchen, her voice tired but warm. She emerges with a brown paper bag, the same one they've been reusing for 3 weeks now. "Thanks, Mama," Tyrone says, kissing her cheek. He knows what's inside without looking: a peanut butter sandwich, a bruised apple, and maybe some crackers if they're lucky. It's not much, but it's made with love. At Jefferson Middle School, Tyrone navigates the crowded hallways with practiced ease. He's learned to blend in, to make his second-hand clothes look intentional, to smile even when his stomach growls during second period. This decision would change everything, though he doesn't know it yet. The cafeteria buzzes with its usual chaos of teenagers and lunch trays. Tyrone finds his usual spot at a table near the window, unwrapping his sandwich slowly to make it last. That's when he notices him, a new kid sitting alone at the corner table, staring at an untouched Turkey Club sandwich like it might bite him back. Kevin Smith looks miserable despite his expensive sneakers and designer jacket. His blonde hair falls across his forehead as he picks at his food, completely isolated in a sea of chattering students. "You gonna eat that?" Tyrone asks, sliding into the seat across from Kevin. Kevin startles, looking up with surprised blue eyes. "Oh, I'm not really hungry." Tyrone studies the new kid for a moment. He recognizes loneliness when he sees it, having felt it himself plenty of times. "I'm Tyrone." "Kevin," the boy responds quietly. Without hesitation, Tyrone tears his peanut butter sandwich in half and pushes the larger piece toward Kevin. "Here, try this. My mom makes the best PB&J in Atlanta." Kevin stares at the offered food in shock. "But, that's your lunch." "I got plenty." Tyrone lies smoothly, his stomach contradicting him with a small rumble. "Besides, you look like you need a friend more than I need a whole sandwich." Little did Tyrone know that this simple act of kindness was being watched by someone who would change his life forever. Kevin takes a tentative bite and smiles for the first time all day. "This is really good. Thank you." They talk easily, sharing stories and laughing over their makeshift meal. Kevin mentions living in Buckhead, the wealthy part of Atlanta, but Tyrone doesn't judge. Instead, he shares stories about his neighborhood, about playing basketball on the outdoor court with paint peeling off the backboards. "My dad travels a lot for business," Kevin says, his voice dropping. "I hardly ever see him. We just moved here because of his work." "That's rough, man," Tyrone says genuinely. "But hey, now you got a friend." The bell rings, ending lunch too soon. As they gather their things, Kevin hesitates. "Tyrone, would you maybe want to hang out sometime? Outside of school?" "Sure thing," Tyrone grins. "I know all the best spots in the city." The rest of the school day passes in a blur. Tyrone finds himself looking forward to seeing Kevin again, already planning places to show his new friend. But the real shock was still coming. As Tyrone walks home from school, taking his usual route past the corner store and the bus stop, he notices a sleek black car parked outside his apartment building. A man in a crisp suit stands beside it, holding what appears to be an envelope. "Tyrone Johnson?" the man asks as Tyrone approaches hesitantly. "Yes, sir." "This is for you," the man says, handing him an elegant cream-colored envelope with Tyrone's name written in gold lettering. Before Tyrone can ask any questions, the man slides back into the car and drives away. Tyrone stands on the sidewalk, turning the mysterious envelope over in his hands. It's heavier than regular mail, and the paper feels expensive beneath his fingers. His name gleams in the afternoon sunlight, and he notices a small embossed logo in the corner, a stylized island with palm trees. His heart pounds as he climbs the stairs to his family's second-floor apartment. What could possibly be inside this envelope that someone felt important enough to hand-deliver? Tyrone's hands trembled as he carefully opened the cream-colored envelope that had been waiting on his front porch. The paper felt different from anything he'd ever touched, thick, smooth, almost silky. His eyes widened as he read the elegant script written in gold ink. "Dear Tyrone Johnson," the letter began. "You are cordially invited to attend a weekend retreat on Serenity Island, hosted by the Smith family. Your kindness toward my son Kevin has not gone unnoticed, and I would be honored to have you as our guest. Transportation will be provided. Please respond by tomorrow evening. Sincerely, Richard Smith." Tyrone read the letter 3 times, his heart pounding faster with each word. A private island? He'd never even been on a plane before, let alone visited somewhere that sounded like paradise. "Mom," he called out, rushing into their small kitchen where his mother, Angela, was preparing dinner. "You need to see this." Angela wiped her hands on her apron and took the invitation. Her expression shifted from curiosity to deep concern as she read. "Tyrone, baby, this doesn't make sense. Why would some rich man want to fly you to an island? We don't know these people. But I know Kevin, Mom. He's really nice, and he said his dad wanted to meet me. Honey, I've seen too many scams in my life. People promising things that sound too good to be true usually are." Angela's voice carried the weight of years spent protecting her family from disappointment. "Remember when your cousin got that modeling contract that turned out to be fake?" Meanwhile, across town in Kevin's bedroom, a different conversation was unfolding. Kevin sat on his bed, staring at his phone, willing Tyrone to call and say yes to the invitation. "Did you send it?" Kevin's father, Richard Smith, appeared in the doorway. At 45, Richard commanded attention wherever he went, tall, well-dressed, with sharp eyes that seemed to calculate everything. "Yeah, I gave it to him after school," Kevin replied quietly. "But Dad, what if he doesn't want to come? What if his family thinks it's weird?" Richard stepped into the room, his expression softening slightly. "Kevin, you've been struggling to make real friends for months. When you told me about this boy who shared his lunch with you without expecting anything in return, I knew he was special. Sometimes we have to take bold steps to show people we care. But what if this backfires? What if he thinks I'm just some spoiled rich kid trying to buy friendship?" Kevin's voice cracked with vulnerability. "Then we'll deal with that together. But from what you've told me about Tyrone, he strikes me as someone who judges character, not circumstances." Back at the Johnson household, Tyrone was making his case to his skeptical family. His younger sister Keisha listened from the corner while their mother paced the small living room. "Tyrone, we can't even afford to fix the air conditioning, and you think some stranger wants to fly you to a private island for the weekend? What if something happens to you? What if we never see you again?" Angela's maternal instincts were in overdrive. "Mom, you always taught me that kindness comes back to you. Maybe this is that happening. Kevin's dad seems really grateful that I was nice to his son. Or maybe this is how rich people entertain themselves, by dangling dreams in front of poor kids." Angela shot back, immediately regretting her harsh tone when she saw her son's face fall. The next evening, Tyrone made his decision. Despite his mother's fears and his own nervous stomach, he called the number on the invitation. "Hello, this is the Smith residence," came a professional voice. "Hi, this is Tyrone Johnson. I'm calling about the invitation to the island." "Of course, Tyrone. Mr. Smith has been expecting your call. May I assume you'll be joining us this weekend?" Tyrone took a deep breath, thinking about Kevin eating alone at school, about the genuine smile on his new friend's face when they talked, about the leap of faith his mother had taken when she moved them to Atlanta for a better life. "Yes, I'll be there." Saturday morning arrived faster than Tyrone expected. He stood outside his apartment building at exactly 9 a.m., wearing his only good shirt and carrying a small duffel bag his mother had packed with everything she thought he might need. His palms were sweating as a sleek black car pulled up to the curb. The driver, a kind-faced man in his 50s, stepped out with a warm smile. "You must be Tyrone. I'm James, and I'll be taking you to the airport. Are you ready for an adventure?" As they drove toward the private airfield, Tyrone watched Atlanta's familiar neighborhoods give way to areas he'd never seen. The car pulled through a security gate and onto a tarmac where a gleaming white jet waited, its engines already humming softly. Tyrone's breath caught in his throat. He'd seen planes like this in movies, but never imagined he'd be stepping foot inside one. Kevin appeared at the top of the aircraft stairs, waving enthusiastically. "Tyrone. You actually came. I wasn't sure you would." As Tyrone climbed the stairs and stepped into the luxury aircraft, complete with leather seats and polished wood paneling, one thought dominated his mind: his life was about to change forever, but he had no idea if it would be for better or worse. The private jet descends through wisps of clouds, and Tyrone grips the leather armrest as the Pacific Ocean stretches endlessly below. Through the window, a paradise emerges from the deep blue waters. The island looks like something from a movie, with pristine white beaches forming perfect crescents around crystal-clear lagoons, palm trees swaying in gentle breezes, and what appears to be a massive estate perched on rolling hills. "Welcome to Serenity Isle," Kevin says softly, his voice carrying a strange mixture of pride and something else Tyrone can't quite identify. The jet touches down on a private runway so smooth it feels like floating. As the door opens, warm tropical air rushes in, carrying the scent of ocean salt and tropical flowers. Tyrone steps onto the tarmac, his worn sneakers suddenly feeling out of place on the pristine white surface. A fleet of golf carts awaits, driven by staff dressed in crisp white uniforms. Everything gleams under the afternoon sun. The main estate rises before them like a modern palace, all glass and stone, with infinity pools that seem to spill directly into the ocean beyond. "This is incredible," Tyrone breathes, his Atlanta neighborhood feeling like another world entirely. The reception area buzzes with perfectly groomed teenagers and adults, all dressed in designer casual wear that probably costs more than Tyrone's family makes in months. Crystal water glasses clink against silver trays, and the sound of refined laughter fills the air. Tyrone recognizes the feeling creeping up his spine: he's the outsider looking in. But what strikes him most isn't the luxury. It's the loneliness in their eyes. These kids have everything money can buy, yet they seem to drift through conversations like ghosts, never quite connecting. Kevin guides him through the crowd, introducing him to various guests. "This is my friend Tyrone," Kevin says repeatedly, and Tyrone notices how Kevin emphasizes the word friend like it means something special. A tall man approaches them, commanding attention without saying a word. His silver hair is perfectly styled, his white linen shirt crisp despite the humidity. This has to be Mr. Smith, though he looks nothing like the warm father Tyrone had imagined. "So you're the boy who shared his lunch," Mr. Smith says, extending a firm handshake. His smile is practiced, professional. "Kevin speaks very highly of you." "Thank you for having me, sir," Tyrone replies, remembering his mother's lessons about respect and manners. "Please, call me Mr. Smith. We don't stand on ceremony here." His eyes study Tyrone with an intensity that makes the teenager uncomfortable. "Tell me, what do you think of our little paradise?" "It's amazing, sir. I mean, Mr. Smith. I've never seen anything like it." Mr. Smith's smile never wavers, but something flickers in his eyes. "Yes, I imagine you haven't. Kevin, why don't you show your friend to his room? Dinner is at 7 sharp." As they walk away, Tyrone can feel Mr. Smith's gaze following them. There's something about Kevin's father that doesn't add up, the warmth in his words doesn't reach his eyes, and his questions feel less like curiosity and more like evaluation. Kevin leads him to a guest wing that's larger than Tyrone's entire house. The room is stunning, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the ocean, Egyptian cotton sheets, and a bathroom with a rainfall shower and marble surfaces. "Kevin, this is too much," Tyrone says, setting down his small backpack on the king-sized bed. "You deserve it," Kevin replies quickly. "You shared your lunch with a stranger. That says everything about who you are. But as the afternoon unfolds, Tyrone notices things that make his stomach tighten with unease. The other guests treat the staff like they're invisible. Conversations revolve around stock portfolios and family connections rather than dreams or fears. And Kevin seems increasingly anxious, checking his watch constantly and jumping at every sound. During the lavish dinner, lobster and prime ribs served on china worth more than Tyrone's family's car, he tries to enjoy himself. The food is incredible, the sunset over the ocean breathtaking. For a few hours, he allows himself to imagine this could be his life, that kindness really does get rewarded this dramatically. But after dinner, as guests mingle on the terrace under string lights, Tyrone excuses himself to use the restroom. Walking through the main house, he gets lost in the maze of hallways. The sound of raised voices draws his attention to a partially open door. "I don't care if you like him, Kevin." Mr. Smith's voice cuts through the tropical night air. "This wasn't supposed to be about friendship. You know what's at stake here." "But Dad, he's different. He's real." "Isn't that what you wanted?" "What I want is results. The board expects a return on this investment, and your little charity case better deliver what we need, or there will be consequences. Do you understand me?" Tyrone's blood runs cold. Investment? Return? He presses himself against the wall, heart pounding as the implications crash over him. This isn't a reward for kindness, it's something else entirely, something that involves him in ways he doesn't understand but instinctively fears. Kevin's voice becomes smaller, defeated. "Yes, sir. I understand." Footsteps approach the door, and Tyrone realizes he needs to move before he's discovered eavesdropping. But as he slips away into the shadows of the hallway, one thought burns in his mind: he has to find out what Mr. Smith really wants from him, and why his act of sharing lunch has put him at the center of something far more dangerous than he ever imagined. The early morning sun casts long shadows through the mansion's corridors as Tyrone quietly slips away from the guest quarters. Sleep had eluded him after overhearing that heated argument between Kevin and his father, and now his curiosity burns like fire in his chest. Something about this place doesn't add up, and he's determined to find answers. Moving carefully down the marble hallways, Tyrone notices how empty and cold the mansion feels despite its obvious wealth. Family portraits line the walls, but they all seem staged, lifeless. He pauses at one showing Mr. Smith with various business partners, all wearing forced smiles at what appears to be some kind of groundbreaking ceremony. "Looking for something?" Kevin's voice startles him from behind. Tyrone spins around, his heart racing. "I couldn't sleep. This place is incredible, but something feels off." Kevin steps closer, his eyes darting nervously down the hallway. "You're not wrong, Tyrone. My father's empire, this island, everything you see here, it comes with a price." The weight in Kevin's voice makes Tyrone's stomach tighten. "What kind of price?" Kevin leads him to a secluded balcony overlooking the pristine beach. In the distance, construction equipment sits idle near what looks like excavation sites. "My father didn't just buy this island, Tyrone. He displaced an entire community to get it. 300 families who had lived here for generations were forced to relocate when he convinced the government this land was needed for economic development." The revelation hits Tyrone like a physical blow. Those families, probably people who looked like him, people who had built lives here just like his grandmother built hers in Atlanta. "That's why you two were arguing last night." He says it's just business, that progress requires sacrifice. "But I can't stop thinking about those families, where they went, if they're okay." Kevin's hands shake as he grips the balcony railing. "And now he's bringing kids like you here, good kids from struggling neighborhoods, and I think it's all just to make himself feel better about what he's done." Tyrone feels his world tilting. The luxury around him suddenly feels tainted, every beautiful view shadowed by the knowledge of who paid for it. But then he looks at Kevin, really looks at him, and sees genuine pain in his friend's eyes. "You don't want any part of this, do you?" "I've never had a real friend before, Tyrone. Everyone at my private school only cares about what my family can do for them. But you shared your lunch with me without knowing who I was, without wanting anything in return. Kevin's voice cracks. I can't let my father use your goodness to wash away his guilt. The morning breeze carries the sound of approaching footsteps, and both boys freeze. Mr. Smith appears in the doorway, his expression unreadable as he takes in the scene before him. I was wondering when you two would have this conversation, he says calmly, stepping onto the balcony. Kevin, I assume you've shared your concerns about our family's business practices? Tyrone's pulse pounds in his ears, but something inside him, the same instinct that made him share his lunch with a lonely stranger, compels him to speak. Mr. Smith, Kevin told me about the families who used to live here. Is it true? The older man's eyes narrow slightly, studying Tyrone with renewed interest. You're very direct, young man. I respect that, even if it's inconvenient. Those people deserved better, Tyrone says, his voice gaining strength. Just because you have money doesn't give you the right to take away someone's home. My mama always taught me that doing the right thing isn't always the easy thing, but it's still the right thing. The silence stretches between them, heavy with tension. Kevin moves closer to Tyrone, a show of solidarity that doesn't go unnoticed by his father. Mr. Smith's expression shifts, something flickering behind his eyes, surprise, perhaps even admiration. You know, Tyrone, in all my years of business dealings, very few people have had the courage to challenge me so directly. Especially not 16-year-old boys who are guests on my island. Tyrone lifts his chin, meeting the man's gaze directly. My grandmother used to say that courage isn't about not being scared. It's about doing what's right even when you are scared. And right now, I'm terrified, but I can't just pretend I don't know what I know. Kevin steps forward, his voice steady despite his obvious nervousness. Dad, Tyrone's right. We both know it. The question is, what are we going to do about it? Mr. Smith looks between the two boys, and for the first time since Tyrone arrived, his carefully controlled facade seems to crack. What happens next will change everything, but as Tyrone stands there with his heart hammering against his ribs, he realizes that some conversations, the ones that really matter, are worth whatever consequences might follow. The tension in Mr. Smith's study hangs thick in the air as Tyrone stands face to face with Kevin's father, his heart pounding but his resolve unwavering. The older man's expression shifts from surprise to something unexpected, respect. A slow smile spreads across Mr. Smith's weathered face as he sets down the documents Tyrone had discovered, revealing the island's complex history and his struggles to maintain it as a sanctuary for underprivileged youth. You know what, Tyrone? Mr. Smith says, his voice carrying a warmth that hadn't been there before. In 30 years of business, I've met countless people who would have looked the other way, taken advantage of what they found here, or simply kept quiet to protect themselves. But you? You chose to speak up, even when it could have cost you everything. Kevin steps forward, his eyes bright with admiration for his friend. Dad, I told you Tyrone was different. He shared his lunch with me when he barely had enough for himself. That's who he is. Mr. Smith nods slowly, walking to the massive windows overlooking the pristine beach. This island, Tyrone, wasn't built for parties or showing off wealth. My late wife and I purchased it 20 years ago with a dream, to create a place where deserving young people, regardless of their background, could come to learn, grow, and see what's possible in their lives. Kevin was supposed to help me identify candidates, but he's been struggling to connect with kids from different walks of life. The revelation hits Tyrone like a wave. Everything he'd suspected about hidden motives crumbles as the true picture emerges. This wasn't about exploitation or some wealthy man's twisted game, it was about opportunity, about breaking cycles, about hope. That lunch you shared with my son, Mr. Smith continues, turning back to face them, showed me exactly the kind of character we've been looking for. Kevin came home that day more excited about a friend than he'd been in years. Not because of what you could give him, but because of who you are. Tears well up in Kevin's eyes as he looks at Tyrone. I was so lonely, man. Everyone at school just wanted to be around me because they thought I had money to throw around. But you? You saw me as just Kevin. That meant everything. Mr. Smith walks to his desk and pulls out an elegant folder, placing it in front of Tyrone. This is a full scholarship to Westfield Academy, one of the country's top preparatory schools. But more than that, I want to offer you a mentorship program. Summers here on the island, learning about business, leadership, and how to create opportunities for others who come from where you came from. Tyrone's hands shake as he opens the folder, seeing his name already printed on official documents, as if Mr. Smith had been planning this moment since Kevin first mentioned their friendship. Sir, I don't know what to say. Say you'll help us expand this program, Mr. Smith replies with genuine enthusiasm. Kevin needs a partner who understands what it's like to struggle, to worry about whether there'll be dinner on the table. Together, you two could identify dozens of kids who deserve this chance. The flight home feels different this time. As the private jet soars over the Atlanta skyline, Tyrone stares down at his city with new eyes. The same neighborhoods that once felt limiting now seem full of potential, of kids just like him who need someone to believe in them. When Tyrone walks through his front door, scholarship papers in hand, his mother collapses into his arms, crying tears of joy and disbelief. His younger sister jumps up and down, already planning how she'll brag to her friends about her big brother. Even his typically stoic father, who works double shifts at the warehouse, wipes away tears as he reads through the life-changing documents. Baby, this is bigger than just you, his mother whispers, holding his face in her hands. This is God showing our whole community that miracles still happen when you treat people right. Word spreads quickly through their neighborhood. Within days, parents are bringing their children to meet Tyrone, asking for advice on how their kids might earn similar opportunities. The local news picks up the story, and suddenly Tyrone finds himself on television, sharing his simple philosophy: kindness costs nothing, but it can change everything. Mr. Smith keeps his promise, establishing the Shared Lunch Foundation with Tyrone as its youngest board member. The program expands to identify deserving youth across the country, all starting with simple acts of kindness and genuine character. Kevin and Tyrone become inseparable partners, spending their summers on the island mentoring new groups of kids, showing them that dreams aren't limited by zip codes or bank accounts. Standing on the island's beach 6 months later, watching a new group of wide-eyed teenagers experience their first taste of possibility, Tyrone reflects on how a simple shared sandwich changed the trajectory of not just his life, but countless others. Kevin stands beside him, no longer the lonely rich kid but a confident young man with purpose. You know what's crazy? Kevin says, watching the sunset paint the sky in brilliant oranges and purples. I thought I was the one doing you a favor by bringing you here. But you saved me too. Tyrone smiles, thinking about the dozens of scholarship recipients now thriving in schools across the country, the families whose lives have been transformed, and the ripple effect of kindness that continues to spread. Sometimes the smallest gestures create the biggest changes, and sometimes sharing what little you have opens doors you never even knew existed. What acts of kindness have you witnessed that changed someone's life completely? Share your stories in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more incredible true stories that prove goodness still exists in this world.